Welcome to my office. So you've actually spent a lot of time in here if you've been watching my videos, because this is where I film most of them. But today I'm going to give you a behind the scenes. I'm going to show you what I've done with my space and yeah, finally give you that office tour I've been promising. So a few things before we commence. We moved in, my partner and I, to this house last May, which means it's almost been a year. Like, that is absolutely wild to me. And my office was one of the first rooms we decorated. Moved flat, had to decorate a new space, and you'll know that 10 months is not really that long. Especially for a whole house on a budget when there's been bigger priorities. So there are small things I still haven't done in here. Like, I still haven't gotten blinds or curtains for the windows, which I need to do at some point. There's some areas of paint that seriously need touched up. There's just like bits and pieces that, you know, like if I had all the time and money in the world, I would have changed and sort of like spruced up a little bit, preferably before I filmed this video. But then if I waited for everything to be perfect before I filmed a tour of any room ever, then you would never see anything, because there's always something you want to change. Like, for example, I already want this wall, this back wall, to be a colour. I painted everything white when we moved in, just to sort of like see the backdrop, to like see the space fresh, because it had very much been a teenage boy's bedroom before then. But now that I've lived and worked in it for a few months, I would really like a feature wall. I'd really like my gallery wall to have a colour on it, probably dark green, because like I'm predictable like that. So, you know, once we decorate the rest of the house, I might come back to this space and do a little bit of like freshening up, adding in a little bit of colour and changing a few things. But for now, I am really happy with my space. It's the first time in my life I've ever had a dedicated office, and it feels so incredibly grown up. Like, never mind that I'm in my 30s, that I have a mortgage, that I'm getting married, that, you know, I do my own taxes. This is what makes me feel grown up. This right here. And given that I work from home, it has been an absolute life changer. So yeah, like, I'm so happy just to have that space, and for a space that when I enter it to feel so very me and to be full of things that I love, which is a little bit of a mishmash, you might see as we go around. But with all that said, I guess we should like get to the actual point of this video and do the tour. Alright, so let's start with the bookcases. Obviously a big priority for me in terms of this space was creating a work conducive library, and if you've not already seen it, I did film a dedicated video to these bookcases. So like, if you want a tour in depth of every shelf in my office, on all the books are on the bookcases in here, then that is obviously a video you can watch. I'll have it linked. As you can probably see if you've seen that video, things have rearranged slightly since then. I'm in a constant state of rearranging books depending on what I'm prioritising, whether I've got new books that I need to fit in, etc. But for a little bit of context, because this is my workspace, I focused on books that are somewhat relevant to me when I'm working. And as you likely know, I am an author. I write non-fiction, I write fiction. I also work as a historical and mythological consultant and fact checker. I compile folklore and fairy tales and myths. I'm an editor, and I also create online content about all of these topics too. So I have most of the books on these bookcases are either mythology, folklore, fairy tale, or history based, but with a particular focus on ancient and medieval history. I do have some more modern history titles which are with my general non-fiction downstairs. I have all of my ancient texts, my classical texts, my ancient history like I mentioned. I have quite a few of my own books because they fit into the genres on these shelves. And then I also have my middle grade books and my children's books, partly because these bookshelves fit them really nicely, and because I did obviously start my career as a children's author. I have a lot of children's books. They mean a lot to me, and it's kind of nice to be surrounded by your accomplishments and the things that you're proud of. I think it's a nice reminder when you know, the workday isn't going quite as you planned. So that's the general vibes of the bookcases in this room, and like I said, there's a whole video dedicated to them, but I'll give you some close-ups of different shelves here. And you will also notice that my bookshelves, which are the IKEA Billy bookcases, are as much a vehicle for displaying my favourite knickknacks and toys as they are for keeping books. One thing in general I think you'll notice about my office is that it is a real like 50-50 split between like sort of a dark academia folkloric vibe, right, and like brightly coloured toys. Those are two things I absolutely adore, and I did like hum and haw quite a lot before putting everything in here about what style, what vibe I wanted to go for, and then I just decided, you know, if I like it, it goes in here, and if it makes me happy, it goes in here. So we've got a mishmash of things, a mishmash of styles. And in general, I am a bit of a collector of dolls. So for example, I have all of my LOL tweens on the middle grade shelves of my bookcase because I just think that they're adorable. I have a selection of my Sylvanian families, which date back to my own childhood, as well as a few I've picked up in more recent years. But the barge boat on top of this bookcase is one that I got from my grandparents when I was around like 9 or 10. I also have a inbox collectible G3 My Little Pony that I got for my 18th birthday. I have my first ever Blythe doll, which was a very recent gift from my partner. I have toys from every stage in my life, and I love them all, and yeah, a lot of them are on display, although many more aren't, and I'll talk a little bit more about my plans for them later in this video. But yeah, this is a little overview of some of my favourite things. Then in front of my bookcase I have my armchair and my footstool, which is also storage, and I have had this armchair for quite a few years. Got it from Marks and Spencer's. I got it from the Marks and Spencer's outlet with the matching footstool for my previous flat with my friend Jill, and it is covered in blankets and cushions, and it's just like a comfy spot to either read or to film my videos. So like this is the backdrop of most of my videos here, and in case you're interested in the bits and pieces I have here, and in case you're interested in some of the bits and pieces here, the daisy blanket was actually a gift from my partner who crocheted it himself. So he made that blanket for me, and it's the most like exquisite thing in the whole world. It's one of my favourite things in this whole house. It makes me so happy. The moon blanket was a gift from my friend Jen. The flower cushion is from Typo, and it's technically like a floor cushion. And my little almost like Greek scene, like Greek island scene cushion was from Debenhams before it closed down. So like that's an oldie. Then next to my bookcases and armchair, I have what I call my cabinet of curiosities. I got this from the antique warehouse out in Dalkeith, which is on the outskirts of Edinburgh, and I just loved like the vibes of like the like fun like wooden details on the front of the glass, and I wanted somewhere to display things that to me were like a little bit more delicate. So we've got like antique vintage books in here, books that are potentially more than 100 years old, some of them, lots of traditional folktale collections. I have some of my favourite ornaments and bits and pieces I've picked up on travels or being gifted by friends. I have my tarot cards in here. I have my entire Folio Society collection. I have just like a little bit of everything. That's why I call it my cabinet of curiosities. And yeah, I'm just like, I'm a collector. Like I like things. I'm a maximalist. I like the memories that different objects recall. I like handling and using my things. So like for example, my tarot cards and different bits and pieces are in here. I like to get out and sit and read my tarot in this chair. And so I just wanted all of that stuff to be visible but protected. I wanted it to be somewhere where I could see and admire it without like constantly knocking it over and damaging it, because I'm also quite clumsy. So that's like kind of the intent behind the cabinet of curiosities. Then we come to one of the most important, if not the most important space in my office, but also like one of the simplest and like least cluttered, I would say, for me spaces, which is my desk, the area I actually do my work in. And one of the biggest things for me that I love about having an office is that I have been able to create the ideal like ergonomic work setup. And I don't know if it was like hitting my 30s or what, but over the past few years where I work has started to make a massive difference on like my physical health. I used to write like all my university essays like laying on the sofa or on my bed, and I can't do that anymore because I get a sore back and I get a sore neck and I get sore eyes and I get sore wrists and arms and shoulders. If there's a part of your body that can be like negatively affected by a bad working setup, I have it. And I say my 30s, but actually I really started getting problems with RSI in my wrists, hands and arms, which is repetitive strain injury, in my mid-20s. I really distinctly remember when that started being a problem for me, and I sometimes just wanted to like cry. I was in so much pain from just working, just like sitting at my laptop, and it took me a long time to sort of like perfect the like anti-RSI setup. And then, like I said, in more recent years I've started to get more problems or pain in my back if I'm not in the right like sitting position, if I'm not in the right chair. And again, I've had to like work on that and perfect that setup, and I think I'm finally like there. Like my setup for me is so conducive to comfortable work and preventing pain at this point that it's just absolutely phenomenal, and I'm really happy with how it's all come together. So I am going to talk a little bit more about all the different aspects of my desk and work setup, starting with my chair. So this right here is the latest addition to my ergonomic work setup, and possibly the most important. I absolutely love this chair. It is from Flexispot, who did actually send it to me for free to review and feature in this office tour, which I was so incredibly grateful for, because I have been on the hunt for a good ergonomic desk chair for a little while now. I'd been researching chairs, I'd been trying friends and family's chairs, and Flexispot were actually top of my list because I already own a Flexispot desk, which I've been incredibly pleased with. So, you know, once you've tried a company once and you've been satisfied, it gives you a little bit more faith going forward, and that faith was so rightfully placed. Like, this thing is the most comfortable chair. So for me, like, one of the big things I was finding with my previous like cheapy desk chair was that it didn't have a high back, so it only came to about like my mid back, and I was getting so much pain in my shoulders, my neck and my upper back. Whereas when I was sitting anywhere else, like on the sofa with my laptop, etc., I was getting a lot of pain in my lower back. So like, it was like every part of my back was in agony depending on where I sat, and that is no longer the case. And oh my goodness, I cannot tell you like how life-changing a good chair is. Like, when you know, you know. And this thing is like adjustable to every specification, no matter like what is more comfortable for you. Like, you can change the armrest, you can change the height, you can change where like the neck and the back and everything sits to make it most comfortable for you. And it also just kind of like adjusts to you as you're using it, so like it has slight movement in it, like when I press back, but it still supports my back. It doesn't catch me off guard with how much it moves just enough. And I actually have realised how much I love armrests. Like, my previous desk chair did not have armrests, but they're actually like a game changer. And the armrests on this chair are actually like super positionable. You can move them up and down, like backwards and forwards, which means like they'll suit whatever height your desk is at, because I do have an adjustable height desk, like I mentioned, also from Flexispot, which I've had for years. Like, I've had my desk since 2020, I think. A friend even used it for over a year when I didn't have enough space in my last flat and I had to like squeeze in a tiny little desk. A friend used my Flexispot standing desk for over a year and really enjoyed it, but I reclaimed it when I moved and had the space to have it in again, because actually having a standing desk and having a big adjustable desk space is like so important again to me, I found, after like that tiny little cramped desk I used to have in the living room of my old flat. But as important as the desk and the chair themselves are, obviously like what's going on top of the desk is equally as important. So I currently use a desktop computer to work at. I found it's better on my eyes than my laptop, and it's better again on like my neck and my working position. Like, I can have it at the right eye line, although of course you can get like little stands and stuff for your laptop. I do appreciate how much of an investment a desktop computer is, because I didn't buy my desktop computer. It's a hand-me-down from my mum, which is partly broken, so I don't know if I can like capture this on camera, but I'll have a try. It has a massive crack across the front of the screen, and like I said, it's my mum's old work computer. She got a new computer in 2021 I think, and passed this old one down to me, which is like a little bit slow, and it has this massive crack on the screen, but it works. And given that mainly what I use it to do is to type and occasionally do a little bit of research and reading, it suits my purposes. And long term, yes, I would love to buy a brand new spanking desktop computer that doesn't have a crack on the screen and is maybe like a little bit faster running, but you know, we'll get there when the budget allows. For now, this one is doing me absolute wonders, and I'm really grateful that my mum was upgrading and passed this on to me. I then have like the make or break items, I think, for like an ergonomic setup, and that is an ergonomic mouse and an ergonomic keyboard. So like I said, I have really struggled with RSI in the past, like tear-worthy pain, like incredibly painful RSI, and the biggest change and the biggest thing in terms of like getting rid of that and preventing that for me has been my keyboard. This is a Microsoft ergonomic keyboard. It is like rounded, so when your fingers are sitting on it, they sort of like sit at a more natural angle, I believe. Like, I don't get the science, but it works, and I absolutely adore this thing. It was also a gift from my partner, who apparently cares about my health. Like, what's that about? And literally life-changing. I've had this for years now and I would never go back. I also just think having an actual keyboard, whether I'm using my laptop or my desktop computer, is massive, because with my laptop my hands are much more cramped together into like a small space to type, whereas this is much more comfortable having like a big keyboard like this. There's a reason for keyboards, and particularly ergonomic keyboards. And then more recently I got my first ever ergonomic mouse. So this is from Logitech, and again, what is different about this one is that it allows your hand to sit in a much more natural position, and this was a Christmas present. So I've only had this one for a couple of months, but it's already been like a game changer. It's so comfortable, I absolutely love it. And apparently, like, my arms and my wrists and my fingers have many different nerves and many different muscles. They go they do different things and are affected differently by different things. So the positions that were fixed by my new keyboard weren't necessarily fixed by my new mouse, weren't necessarily fixed by my old mouse, but now I have a lovely ergonomic mouse, and again, absolutely fantastic. And even if I have to give up having an office in the future, as long as I can still have my ergonomic setup, I'm gonna be okay. Maybe I should have been using this angle when I was talking about my desk, because now you can actually see it, but I was trying to harness the natural light from the window, so do you know what, it is what it is. Otherwise, I try to keep my desk like relatively free from clutter, because I am clumsy and I like space to spread out, and then I will have like books and notebooks open that I want to be able to like move around, and sometimes I do have my laptop on my desk with me. So yeah, like I try not to keep too much stuff on here. I've got my mouse pad. How cute is this? This is one of my favourite artists. I have a votive candle. This again is of the goddess Bridget, who is a Celtic goddess. Sometimes when I want to like create an atmosphere in which I just like focus in on what I'm doing, rather than necessarily like a Pomodoro timer, I like to burn this candle, or a candle like it. I have a few of these, they're not scented, and whilst the candle's burning, I am working, and when I want to stop, I blow out the candle, and I don't know, it just like, it's a ritual, and I like it, and it helps me work sometimes. I have my pencil case, because you gotta have pencils, and this was a gift from my partner at Christmas, and it's my favourite thing in the whole world, because when you open the actual pencil case, it becomes a stand, so like you can just have it like that with your pens and pencils in it. Like blew my mind, absolutely love this thing. And obviously I have accessorised it with pins and a Care Bear, because cute. We have some headphones so I can listen to really loud music occasionally to help me focus and block out the outside world. These are literally my dad's old headphones. Obviously I did not pick them, I didn't do any research on them, but my dad was very into music and audio tech, so I'm sure these were like excellent recommendations when he originally bought them, and you know, they do me well. And then we have some notebooks. I like the colour lilac, if you can't tell. I've got my diary, because I like a physical diary which can also make to-do lists in. I then have a book which is solely for to-do lists and checklists, and I make lists of things I want to film and things I want to do and things I want to write, and just everything. It's literally just a list book. And then I have my current research book, so when I am researching, as I am now because I'm writing a non-fiction book, I do like to take take physical notes. I have done since I was a student. I find it ingrains things in my head better, it makes me think about things a little bit better, and then I like to have all my notes in one place. So this is the current notebook I am using to make notes for my current non-fiction project. And of course I have my reading glasses, which are from Boots. Then we have my gallery wall. Now this isn't the only space in here which has like prints and artwork on it. I have a few others scattered about in the room, but this is like the focus of my artwork. And like I said, long term, I really think this wall would benefit from being painted a colour, like a nice dark colour, which the art could contrast on. So like that's something I do want to do eventually, but you know, like other priorities first. We've not even finished decorating my partner's office, so like this is like way in the future probably. But the artwork here is a real mixture of things. Some of it is second-hand, things I've picked up in charity shops, some I've picked up in little independent shops and craft fairs that I've ordered online from Etsy. Others are pieces of classic artwork that I have bought posters for and framed, and then there's even like some little ceramics that I've painted myself at pottery studios in Edinburgh, which are like a little bit random. So a little bit of everything. But if I bring you in a little bit closer, you can see me there. Hi. This little mirror is actually from a charity shop, but I believe it's originally IKEA, and I really wanted to have a lot of texture on this gallery wall. I didn't want it to just be prints, so like I've got, as I mentioned, little ceramics in bits and pieces. I even have this tiny little antique travel perfume jar, which was a gift from my partner's mum. I have this little ceramic shelf, which I bought from Wheel of Fate in Edinburgh. I have a couple of different Cicely Mary Barker fairy plates. You know, I am apparently in my 70s era, and I mean, I am acting like a woman in her 70s because I have plates on my wall. I don't know why, but that is something I very much associate with grandmothers. I also have a lot of artwork featuring women of mythology and folklore. I find that quite inspiring when I'm working, and not just because I've written a few books on women in mythology, they just like kind of keep me company when I'm working. So I have Bridget up there, I have Aphrodite up there, two of my favourite folklore mythology figures. I also have a Disney doll of Megara from Disney's Hercules, who's also a figure from Greek mythology, and who better to keep me company when I'm working. This little guy up here, for example, is one I painted myself, and he's inspired by a medieval marginalia cat, which I copied from Google. The print in this frame is from one of my favourite artists, Jessica Donnelly Art, who I have a few of her prints. I think I have two in this room, but I have another one in the living room, which is of a dragon. I think her line work is insane and incredible. This piece of floral artwork I picked up in a charity shop. This was the frame it was already in, and I just thought it was perfect as it was. Same with the two tiny little like gilt framed potted plant flower arrangements that I have like these. These are just stunning, and I found them in a 30p bin at the charity shop. There's Mother Jessica Donnelly, my little perfume bottle, my little shelf. This is one of my favourite paintings of all time. I just think it's absolutely stunning. And then whilst I'm like here, standing on my armchair, I will just mention that like down here, I like very like neatly, let's say, popped my serious reader's light. So this is like a really like high-tech reading light, which I absolutely love and have had for a few years now. I was originally sent it by the company, and when I want to use it I just sort of like bend it out on its bendy neck and use it to read in the seat when it's darker. Hello. And for more artwork in my office, here in like the little doorway to the room, I have one of my favourite prints. I just like to see it as soon as I come in, and that is my little froggy print that my friend Jill got for me, which is from one of my favourite children's books illustrators. And then I have a wall with 3 prints here next to my window. This is one of the prints originally drawn for my book Live Like a Goddess by Taylor Dolan Art. Her stuff is absolutely out of this world, and this is her rendition of the Chinese goddess Nuwa, who's one of my favourites. So I have that up on my wall because I just think it's absolutely stunning. Then to the left front of my desk I have this little glass cabinet, which was a hand-me-down from my aunt, and it has most of my classics in it. So again, I think I did a full tour of this bookcase in my like bookshelves in this office tour room. But so I have all my tiny little mini books up here, along with my childhood ceramic clown lamp. I'm really sorry if you don't like clowns. And then inside we have like, you know, like my Penguin Modern Classics, my non-classical text classics, and then all of my poetry at the bottom there. Then we have some mess. Like, this is the thing about then we have some mess. This is the thing. I really wanted this room to be like absolutely perfect before I filmed in it, and instead there's this wall, which I am not happy about, but let's talk about it. So we have my reading cart, which is full of books that I'm currently using for research or want to read that are on my TBR. It's like a mishmash of books I just don't want to have to constantly pull out of the bookcases, so they've gone in there. I also have some prints that I still haven't popped up, which is of the Standing Stones in Orkney, but I cannot find a frame this size. It's such an awkward frame size. I have some additional stationery, I have some zines and magazines, I have like cables and this Votes for Women jar, I have this little guy who's technically like a screen wipe. I just have like random things that I don't quite know what to do with on this cart. We have a walking pad, which was something that my partner and I invested in recently, and I'm sorry to be that person, but this is amazing. I love the walking pad. I love having the standing desk up and doing the walking pad whilst I'm working. I'm a fidget who likes to move when I'm working. This allows me to just be constantly fidgeting and moving my body, and that focuses me and helps me concentrate. So I've been really enjoying using this when I'm not sitting down. But it is folded up and put away at the minute. I have my Care Bear bag. I then have a box full of brats. This is all of my brats in this box right here. Like I said, I collect dolls. I have a lot of dolls. And the plan is long term to turn this cupboard of these 3 cupboards into a doll's house. So this cupboard is currently shelves. I could show you, but it's a real mess and I'm a little bit nervous too. So it's just shelves, and what I plan on doing is having those shelves be rooms for all of my dolls and turning this into a townhouse for the dolls. And it currently has all my other toys in there, just like stuffed in there, as well as some like loose stationery and other bits and pieces I need to organise and deal with. But we have not had a chance to do that yet. I also have this little shelf thing, which is like a trinket shelf from the Futon company, which I want to put up here. So I put these shelves up and I did a terrible job. As you can tell, they're not entirely aligned. They're also pretty cheap crap shelves. I don't love them. I don't love what I accomplished by putting them up, but they are there now, and they currently have my childhood Generation 2 My Little Pony collection on them, because these are my favourite toys in the whole world. I would chuck out everything else if it meant I could keep my G2 My Little Ponies. Like, this is my childhood, and long term they're probably going to go in the cupboard too as part of the toy townhouse. There will be a pony section, but for now they're all up here on these terrible shelves I would like to take down and replace with this cute trinket shelf. I'm also wondering about maybe painting these doors. In this one I have filming equipment like my light and then just random boxes, and that one Chris and I share, and it has his guitar in it and it has spare coats, and it's just like whatever we can use the space for, it's being used for. But yeah, long term it might be nice to actually sort of decorate this wall, but this is where we're at. But other than that, I think that about covers it. Like I think that's the tour. It's a little square room, which I can't even show you at the same time because my lens isn't big enough. It doesn't go wide enough to show the whole room at once. But this is my office, and I absolutely love it. I am so happy. It's such a happy, cozy, comforting space for me. It's full of things that make me smile. It's full of things that make me smile, that are conducive to work, and I'm just so happy with it, and I wanted to show it off to you. So hopefully this has been fun, even at all of the weird odd angles that I've been filming at. Hopefully you found it interesting. If you'd like more details on anything you saw in this video, whether it be the artist behind a print or a specific book you saw on a shelf, or have more questions about like my ergonomic setup, etc., then just leave them in the comments. I would be more than happy to talk about them. It's hard to know what is important and relevant and you'd like me to cover, so yeah, like let's just chat. That would be great. But otherwise, hopefully this has been interesting. Hopefully But otherwise, hopefully you found this video interesting, you enjoyed yourself watching, and I will see you all again in the next one. Bye everyone!